The report. Honorable colleagues, the third business of the day is presentation of report of the Conference Committee on a bill for an act to repeal the National Commission for Refugees Act, Chapter N21, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and enact the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Aminu Sani Jaji. Honorable Jaji is invited to present the report. Okay, in the absence of Honorable Jaji, Honorable Abdurazak Namdas.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Abdurazak Namdas. I represent the people of Ganye, Jada, Tongo, Mayo, Belwa. I am from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I move to present the report of Conference Committee that the House do receive the report of the Conference Committee on a bill for an act to repeal the National Commission for Refugees Act Cap number 21, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and enact the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, and for related matters. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable KJF.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff. I represent the good people of Buruku, my dear colleagues. I'm from Benue State. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by Honorable Namdas. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Namdas is invited to lead the report. Honorable colleagues, the fourth business of the day is presentation of 5 reports of the Committee on Public Petitions, standing in the name of Honorable Uzoma Ikem Abonta. Honorable Abonta is invited to present the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Uzoma Ikem Abonta, Mr. Speaker, from Abuja State. Mr. Speaker, may I move that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Public Petition as contained in the other paper, particularly item 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 of the other paper. I pray that I lay the report as contained therein. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder, Honorable Bade.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Yakubu Umar Bade. I represent Chikun Kajuru Federal Constituency. I'm from Kaduna State. I rise to second that the House do receive the various reports on the Committee on Public Petition, as moved by Honorable Abonta. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Abonta, please lead the report. Honorable colleagues, the first order of the day is the third reading of a bill for an act to eradicate the age discrimination against job seekers in federal government agencies and for related matters. Honorable members will recall that the House adopted the report of the Committee of the Whole on the bill on Wednesday, 15 May 2019. I therefore call on the Leader of the House to move that the bill be now read the third time. Honorable MT.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Munguno. I represent Marte Munguno, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State, acting leader by grace of Mr. Speaker. I hereby move for a bill for an act to eradicate the age discrimination against job seekers in federal government agencies and for related matters be read the third time. I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Pajok, Chairman, Rules and Business.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the third reading of this bill. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable colleagues, the question is that the bill be now read the third time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to eradicate the age discrimination against job seekers in federal government agencies and for related matters. Third reading.
Bill read the third time and passed. The second order of the day is the third reading of a bill for an act to establish the Defense Intelligence Agency Pensions Board to handle pensions matter for civilian personnel of the agency and for related matters. Honorable members will recall that the House adopted the report of the Committee of the Whole on the bill on Wednesday, 15 May 2019. I therefore call on the Leader of the House to move that the bill be now read the third time.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I hereby move for a bill for an act to establish the Defense Intelligence Agency Pensions Board to handle matters for civilian personnel of the agency and for related matters be read the third time. I so move.
Chairman, Rules and Business.
Honorable Speaker, may I second the motion for the third reading of the bill. I so second.
Honorable colleagues, the question now is that the bill be now read the third time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish the Defense Intelligence Agency Pensions Board to handle pension matters for civilian personnel of the agency and for related matters. Third reading.
Bill read the third time and passed. The third order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to establish the Southeast Development Commission to serve as a catalyst to develop the commercial potential of the Southeast, receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation for the rehabilitation, reconstruction, and reparation for houses and lost businesses of victims of the Civil War and address any other environmental or developmental challenges and for related matters. Standing in the name of the House Leader, honorable members will recall that the bill was transmitted from the Senate seeking concurrence of the House and read the first time on Tuesday, 7th May 2019. I now invite the Leader to move that the bill be now read a second time.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Munguno. I represent Marte Munguno, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move for a bill for an act to establish the Southeast Development Commission to serve as a catalyst to develop the commercial potentials of the Southeast, receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation for the rehabilitation, reconstruction, and repatriation for houses and lost businesses of victims of the Civil War and address any other environmental or developmental challenges and for related matters be read the second time. I so move.
Any seconder? Yes, Princess.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Azora Ikere. I represent Abuja Federal Constituency. I want to move that the second motion, as moved by the Leader of the House, that the bill be read the third time. I so move.
Second time.
Leader, lead the debate.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohammed Tahir Munguno. I represent Marche Munguno, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, this bill came for concurrence from the Senate. And in the wisdom of the Senate, having regard to the devastation that this southeastern part of the country has suffered as a result of the civil war that led to the massive destruction of the infrastructure in that region, and also having regard to the fact that there was no concerted effort in terms of institutionalization of the rehabilitation, the reconstruction of the infrastructure that was devastated in the southeast, that necessitated the sponsorship of this bill. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, you are all aware that as a result of the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, the infrastructure in the northeast was destroyed to a state of comatose. And the economic activity that was hitherto obtainable in the northeast is also nothing to write home about as a result of the Boko Haram insurgency. And this house, in its wisdom, being a house that is responsible and responsive to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians, that gave us the sacred mandate to represent them in its wisdom, without a voice of dissent, with unanimity, supported the establishment of the Northeast Development Commission that today has seen the light of the day, and they have kicked the ground running for the purpose of rehabilitation and reconstruction of the infrastructure that was destroyed as a result of the Boko Haram insurgency. Mr. Speaker, what is good for the goose is equally good for the gender. So what applies to the Northeast should mutatis mutandis apply to the Southeast, because the circumstances are similar. Infrastructure has been destroyed, economy has been brought to a state of comatose. So there is the need, by way of a legal framework, an institutional framework, a deliberate framework of a Marshall Plan that will embark upon the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the infrastructure that is destroyed in the Southeast. Yes, there was the 3 R's: reconstruction, rehabilitation, and the other R, what is it? That was initiated by the Gawan administration immediately after the Civil War. But it was implemented as a stopgap measure without an institutional framework, without a legal body that will be charged with the responsibility of deliberately coming out with a Marshall Plan for the rehabilitation and then reconstruction of the Southeast, just the way it was done in the Northeast. So it was against this backdrop that the Senate passed this bill, and I'm urging my colleagues to also concur without any voice of dissent with the wisdom of the Senate in passing that bill, so that this bill will, at the end of the day, see the light of the day, and our brothers and sisters in the southeastern part of the country will also enjoy what is extended to the northeast in terms of rehabilitation and reconstruction as a result of destruction occasioned by the Boko Haram insurgency. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Shekara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Let me first start by saying that I may likely speak against the bill, but not with any sentiment. Order. Mr. Speaker, my concern about the bill is that as a nation, are we after establishing commissions? When the Civil War took place, as the leader said, there were 3 R's. The 3 R's were put in place to tackle the challenges of that zone by that period. Mr. Speaker, I don't see any justification as a country to be establishing commissions that will just be saddled with the responsibility of an aftermath of the devastation. If we continue to do this, which means very soon we'll have Northwest Development Commission, because as I speak to you, Northwest is already devastated economically. So my concern about the bill is that we shouldn't set a kind of precedence that we are just after setting commissions and commissions and commissions like that. My take is that as a country, as citizens, we should look at a way of even preventing the occurrence of these anomalies or these kind of problems that bring about the need for setting of these kind of commissions. So, Mr. Speaker, my take is that I'm speaking against the establishment of this commission so that we will not put a kind of bad precedence of just setting commissions to handle issues that we can prevent as a nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Comrade Aminu Suleiman.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am from Kano State, and my name is Comrade Aminu Suleiman. I represent Pagi Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am also constrained not to speak favorably on this bill. And I'm coming from the background that this bill was earlier brought before this
He's from you are from Cross Rivers. You are from Akwa Ibom State. There are so many related.
This bill was brought before this chamber. And let us go back to our archives. And it was debated thoroughly. And I think in the wisdom of the House, I can recall very clearly that this bill was stepped down. I do understand that this is a bill from the Senate asking for our concurrence. But with due respect, I don't believe that we are an appendage of the Senate. We should look at bills on the thorough objective of the bills and act on them. Like the previous speaker said, if we are to go by this theory and analysis, and which was the reason the House stepped down this bill when it was brought, it's a general consensus that there is no part of this country that is not affected by one misfortune or the other. And our worry at that time is not because this thing is for Southeast. Absolutely not. But it is a reason advance, because at that time, the Northeast Development Commission was about to be considered. And the issue of the Southeast came. And those who spoke here, from the Southwest, from the Northwest, from the Central, all believe that if this is to be considered, then there should be multiple commissions for development of each region. And therefore, an event that happens close to 50 years back. We are now bringing it as a reason to create a commission. Then, of course, where I come from, the Northwest, is now more devastated, even than the Northeast. And then we should not begin to consider that there should be commission for every zone. Therefore, I will want to plead without any sentiment attached, that this bill should not go. This is my contribution.
Thank you. Last from this column, Honorable Namdas.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Abdurazak Namdas. I represent the people of Ganye, Jada, Tongo, Mayo, Belwa. I am from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I want to support this very bill. We are at a time that if we are not careful, this country is going to have more problems. So far, as at now, you can see anything you do in Nigeria is classified either from sentiments, either you're using religion, or you are sectionalizing certain things. People interpret things based on different indices. If I come from the Northeast, thankfully, and I appreciate the members of this House, that we've been giving Northeast Development Commission. And in fact, just recently, the President just inaugurated the commission, and they are about to start work. For me, it will be unfair on my side to stand here and say I will not support the cause of the Northeast and Southeast Development Commission. I appeal to my colleagues that they should actually be considered, because they too have some level of devastations. They mentioned environmental issues as part of it. And if in their wisdom the Senate feels that there is need for a reconstruction, rehabilitation, and repatriation, I think my colleagues should have a rethink on the matter and feel so that we can behave and then believe that it's a one country. I so move.
This is the way I'm going to do the debate. We are going to move like this. So if you want to speak on this column, signify very early, because by the time I leave this place and come here, I'm not going to go back. So from here, there are two more people left. There are two more little people left here. And once I leave this column, I'm not going to come back. So I give you the floor. Then.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Francis Charles Uduyok, member representing Korabas in Karen in Eastern Ogolo Federal Constituency. I'm from Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, it is very necessary that this bill must be supported. It is important that this bill must be supported, looking at the general principle of the bill and the need for development of the Southeast. Nigeria is a very big country, and it is in our mind, all of us sitting here, and it's important that every facet of this country, component, be properly developed. If the Northeast Development Commission is established, I think that the issues addressed by this bill will be properly addressed, and our country will move forward. So I want to enjoin others to say that it is important we support this bill for the benefit of our dear brothers in the Southeast.
Thank you, Honorable Pajok, Chairman of Rules and Business.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, Mr. Speaker, let me take the issues seriatim. The first issue was the observation that this House stepped down this bill some time ago. I don't think the bill was stepped down. It was negative because there was a vote on the bill, and the majority of the members of this House voted against the bill at the second reading stage. But Mr. Speaker, that happened over almost 2 years ago. And by the rules of this House, if a matter is represented within the same session, then it cannot be considered by the rules of the House. But, Mr. Speaker, this is being considered in a different legislative session, so there's nothing wrong with us considering it. Secondly, it's emanating from the Senate. It had undergone all the processes, including public hearing, and the Senate, in its wisdom, decided not to pass it. With the passage of time, Mr. Speaker, there's nothing wrong with us looking at the merits of this matter again, particularly when it is in a different legislative session. Mr. Speaker, just some few weeks ago, this House passed a bill on the equitable sharing of river basin development authorities. Now we're talking about no development. Are we saying that no region of this country is entitled to development? The key word for me in this bill is development. If the Southeast feels that they are underdeveloped and they feel that the issue of development commission will address the developmental challenges of that region, so be it. It does not stop any other region from asking for a development commission. So if Northwest feels like bringing their own bill for development commission, so be it. As a matter of fact, we in the North Central, where I come from, are going to bring our own bill asking for a development commission for the North Central, because we feel, and the facts are there, that we are the most devastated region in this country. So I am of the view that let us pass this bill for the reasons of equity, because we are not saying that Nigeria does not have the resources to develop all regions of the country. Let us not forget, just in this year's appropriation act or bill sent to Mr. President, we have voted in about 10 billion naira to address the challenges of Zamfara State. So whenever there's any peculiar challenge from any part of the country, my take is that let us look at the issue on its own merits. Are we saying that there are no developmental challenges in the Southeast? If there are, and we feel that within the present structures of the government, they may not adequately address those challenges, I think that this issue of the Development Commission will address those challenges, and therefore there will be less cry of marginalization from this from the Southeast. So I plead with my colleagues, and I support what my honorable colleague from the Northeast, Honorable Abdulrazak Namdas, said. Also from the North Central, saying we should add our voice to unanimously pass this bill, so that we send the message that Nigeria, we are one, that we are united. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Fijabi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Said Akande Fijabi. I'm from Ibadan, Oyo State. Mr. Speaker, I think we have to be a bit careful in having a lot of commissions in Nigeria. I would have said instead of having Southeast or Northeast or North Central, we should just have Nigerian Development Commission. Collapse all the commission into one and have a robust commission that we can. Because if a war had happened like 50 years ago, don't forget, Mr. Speaker, I know you are older than me. During the Civil War, there is Kiriji War in Southwest, which under that one I can still bring a development commission because of it. But let's look Nigeria as a whole. We need development. We need a lot of infrastructure that we need to put in place. So instead of having Southeast, Northwest, North Central, we should have what we call Nigerian Development Commission and be serious about it. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm bringing a bill on having Nigerian Development Commission. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Dr. Chukwuemeka Uja.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I'm Honorable Dr. Chukwuemeka Uja. I represent the good people of Nkano East and Nkano West Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I sit here, or I now stand, cringing at the attitude of some of our colleagues here with respect to this very wonderful bill that has now come from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, we continuously preach one Nigeria. When our brothers from the Northeast came with a bill, we all supported it. Now we are now blind to the plights of the people of the Southeast. Mr. Speaker, everybody is alluding to the Civil War, but that's not the only thing that is addressed in this bill. It says on other environmental or developmental challenges, of which there are a plethora of them. Mr. Speaker, I appeal to my colleagues to, with conscience, support this bill. The people of the Southeast have been yearning for proper development. If other zones want development commissions, so be it. For me, as many as possible. If not, then let's cancel all developmental commissions. So we can't just pick and choose as it suits. So I appeal to my colleagues. If there's been a rethink, we've already canvassed the opinion, and I believe there's a majority consensus that this bill is a healthy bill, devoid of ethnic sentiment. Just that the Southeast are coming and saying we need a developmental commission. So I appeal to my colleagues, let us support this bill and not bring in ethnic sentiment to this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Anuigo. Are you sure your mic is functional? Because your mic is not functional and is not being recorded.
Come on, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay. I said my name is Samuel Onibu. I represent the good people of Great Chikwa, North and South Federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, I said that I'm very, very happy to have the opportunity to add my voice to the urgent need for this bill to be favorably considered and approved by my colleagues. The reason is simple. We had the experience last time when this bill did not go through due to some factors. But this time, our colleagues in the Senate have considered this bill thoroughly and passed it. It's not a bill that is based on sentiment. It's based on the realities on the ground. I know very clearly that in the Southeast, there are serious environmental challenges. No one is referring only to the events of the Civil War. The Southeast has the greatest number of gully erosions that have been devastating the area. And I know that I've made efforts myself to attract some of those erosion control projects. But when you go over and over again, you are reminded that it is not your state alone that is suffering from this. And this is a common thing around the Southeast region. Mr. Speaker, that's one segment of my submission. The other one is that at a time like this, when we are all asking for us to unite and build a united country, it now becomes a source of concern if either one group or a section creates the impression that one section should be treated differently. Mr. Speaker, I know that recently, Mr. President talked about true physical federalism. And what we were able to understand from that is that I think there's a realization right now for us to ensure that we decentralize resources to touch the lives of people and to address critical challenges. Mr. Speaker, I would really be pleased, and I'm using this opportunity to appeal to our colleagues, to please join hands and ensure that this bill is passed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Nkiruka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Kiruka Oyejocha. I represent the good people of Isukwatu Munoji Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I want to plead with my honorable colleagues to show understanding at this particular time. Because what this bill seeks to achieve is for one united Nigeria, where the Southeast would have been more productive after passage of this bill. It's just to enhance. I'm also saying, if you look at the body of the bill, it speaks to itself. It says, to establish the Southeast Development Commission to serve as a catalyst to develop the commercial potentials of the Southeast, receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation for the rehabilitation, reconstruction, and reparation of houses and so on and so forth. So if we are talking about one Nigeria, how to move forward, how to move to the next level, we shouldn't bring sentiments in this kind of thing. Because what we have been looking at is the generality of this country. Everywhere is agitated. We have issues left, right, and center. People, I don't even want to say, oh yes, because we passed Northeast Development Commission bill. I don't even want to say, okay, because we have this other commission or other commission. Because what is important is that we are one Nigeria. And at a time like this, it's time for people to sit down and look at issues rationally, not bringing sentiments whether I'm from Southeast. And I can tell you that most of the time on the floor of this house, I personally have spoken in favor of other regions because I am representing a constituency that is part of Nigeria. We are talking about 360 people, 360 federal constituencies that made up Nigeria. And so at no point will we bring issues of sentiment. Yes, emotions may arise, sentiments may come in, but let us look beyond this so that we look at the side that is talking about unity. Let us talk about the thing that unifies us, the thing that is going to move us to the next level. Even as we speak, the ruling party is talking about moving to the next level. And from the Southeast, we are saying that if you help us, support us, concur to this bill, because let me tell our colleagues, this bill passed through first reading, second reading, and it came to public hearing from the Senate that Nigerians attended. When you do public hearing, you do not say it's only Southeast people that will attend. So I'm speaking mostly to the motions that are coming up. We know what the bill is all about. We know the issues. We know the history. We know yesterday. We know what is happening today. But I'm saying that this bill had passed through first reading, it has passed through second reading, it came to public hearing, where Nigerians, the Northwest, the Southwest, the North Central, the Southeast, the South-South, every zone, Southwest, came to that public hearing. Institutions were represented, and they said it was okay, and they got it back to Senate, and it passed through third reading, and we are one Nigeria. Today, we have to make history on the floor of this house to say we shall no more look at divides. We should also be looking at what brings us together. And that's why I'm saying, I'm pleading to my honorable colleagues, please let us show understanding to allow this bill to pass through this concurrence stage. Nigeria and history will remember us. I so submit.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and my very distinguished colleagues. I am Ujochukwu Namobi, and I represent the good people of Bahodo West and Oba Ebemendani Federal Constituency from River State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill wholeheartedly. The essence of this bill is to bring about development in a particular region of this country. We happen to enjoy it in the South-South. The Northeast is enjoying it, and the bill was actually moved by the Speaker, Yakubu Dogara. So I don't see anything wrong in this one. I would rather say that we all give this speedy passage. A lot of people have a problem with the way the bill was crafted. Like they talked about the Nigerian Civil War. Yes, a war was fought in this country. It's in the past, it's part of our history. There must be reconstruction, rehabilitation, and the other arrow. So I want to, appeal to my dear colleagues to support this bill. Let that be the one for the Southeast. If need be, we can even have for the other regions. Because what we're looking at now, Nigeria is gradually going back to what we had before. The time when we used to have regionalism, and if we truly believe in justice, what this federal government should do is to ensure that what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, my dear colleagues.
No, not Sergius. Not you, Sergius. Not you, Sergius.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Ahmad Abdullahi Kalambaina, FNI, Sodonan Kalambaina, and I represent Kwari Wamako Federal Constituency of Sokoto State. Mr. Speaker, I'm not in support of this bill, being that what is happening in the Northeast is also happening in most parts of the northern part of Nigeria. southeast. When you consider the situation at hand, like in Zamfara, Sokoto, and Katsina, which happen to be the northwest part of this Nigeria, there is supposed to be also this kind of commission so as to develop this area which was destroyed as a result of insecurity in this area. Instead, let there be a Northern Development Commission so as to develop the entire North, considering the challenges faced by the area due to security issues that resulted in the destruction of some entire communities and displacement of indigenous of those communities. Mr. Speaker, I therefore submit that I do not support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Let's also remind our colleagues that you either speak on the principle of the bill or just debate generally. It's not about either to support or to be against it. So I will start from this column from Brown, Honorable Brown.
Different one.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Honorable Randolph Eworene Brown, representing Degma Bonifera constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm a reverse man.
Yeah, point of order. How is raising point of order?
Explanation. My right has been denied to contribute.
Sergius, it's not fair. Don't make this house ungovernable. Look at your standing order and look at it. Personal explanation is an item. I will have gone past it, so take your seat.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Once again, Mr. Speaker, my name is Honorable Randolph Eworene Brown, representing Degma Bonifera constituency. Mr. Speaker, I want to lend my voice to this very, very important bill. It is important because a people wants development. We are in a terrible time in this country, and development is something that is necessary for all of us. And if there is need, it will create employment. All the necessary infrastructures of the area will be harnessed. All the potentials of the southeast will also be harnessed. So, Mr. Speaker, without much ado, I wish to lend my support to the creation and urge my colleagues to please, in the name of God, support this bill.
Honorable Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Honorable Amadi Dennis, member representing Udi Eziago Federal Constituency of Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, without attaching sentiment to this bill, we believe that it is something that is equitable, that will favor all parts of the country. The Southeast, we don't need to recount history. Prior to the insurgent in the North, the South has suffered a lot of environmental degradation. Even the economic empowerment of our people were shortchanged, in the sense that the average Southeasterner had to go home with 20 pounds shortly after the war. Mr. Speaker, this region before now generates electricity far beyond its region through the thermal coal plants. Coal was a major resource for Nigeria. It was in the Southeast. We did not segregate. It was being used by the whole country to develop Nigeria. Resources from export of that coal were used in developing part of Lagos, part of our railway, the locomotive engine that is major ways of haulage and transport for Nigeria. In the 60s, we are being driven by this coal. Today, the environment where these coals are being harvested, people, some of them cannot have a good drinking water. Some cannot farm. It is not something that we are asking for selfish reasons. Our people have said they need to come together to develop their infrastructure, to develop their road network, to develop their economy, to harvest abundant resources that are within the soil of Southeast. I sincerely appeal to my colleagues to support this bill, and also thank the initiator, especially the Senate where this bill has been referred from. I so much, Mr. Speaker.
Professor Majid Alabi. Professor is not ready. Ranking by age. Ranking by age is over to you. Professor is not ready.
My name is Jerry Alabosa from Imo State, representing our law and federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, the bill before us is a bill that calls to heaven and to produce. Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, the bill before us is a bill that calls to heaven and to our colleagues for human conscience. Human conscience in the sense that what is good, what is source to the goods, is also source to the gender. Mr. Speaker, this bill has been passed by the Senate. And the words of the bill, Mr. Speaker, let me draw your attention once more, are to develop the commercial potentials of the Southeast. The question is, are there commercial potentials of the Southeast? Yes is the answer. 2, to manage allocations from the Federation, not from our various states, Mr. Speaker, to manage allocation from the Federation for rehabilitation, reconstruction, reconciliation. In fact, this one added reparation too. Mr. Speaker, it's also talked about lost businesses of the victims of the Civil War. Lost businesses. The question is, were some businesses lost during the war? Yes. So it is to manage the allocation for the Federation, not from the various states in this country. Mr. Speaker, remember that the South is also prone to erosions. This Development Commission is also to manage for this. Mr. Speaker, after the war, there was this saying, there's no victor, no vanquished. One of the major actors in that war later on changed and started saying Nigeria praise. Mr. Speaker, part of the praise we are talking about is about this Development Commission. We are praying so that the thing will lead to reconciliation, full rehabilitation, and full reconciliation, Mr. Speaker. So I'm begging some of my colleagues to develop human conscience and support this bill. More so when the thing is not removing anything from your own state allocations. If on the Federation, it concerns the Southeast, when they give us our allocation, we need to manage all this, Mr. Speaker. We are not
silence, please. Order. Honorable members, please. Please. Honorable Namdas, please. Honorable Namdas. This is not the press center.
Mr. Speaker, the people is against this week, so I don't have to manage it. So, Mr. Speaker, I am pleading with my colleagues to develop human conscience. There is no electricity about this. It's so clear. We are victims of the war. Whether we like it or not, we are all victims of that civil war. The Northeast is now witnessing it.
Honorable Sergius, FCT, Sergius, please.
Why I say this before war is for arms. So I'm pleading that all of us should please support this Development Commission, which will not harm any state. Mr. Speaker, I so submit. Thank you.
Honorable Nicholas Osai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable colleagues, I am Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. I represent Doko Okwani Federal Constituency of Delta State. Mr. Speaker, I wholeheartedly support this bill for the second reading. Why do I have to support this bill? The critical issues members should examine, not on sentiment, but what is the intention of Senate. The intention of Senate is derived from a proper foundation of the challenges
faced by Southeast. And what are these challenges? Challenges of erosion and ecological degradation. Challenges of landslide menace that has bedeviled the entire Southeast. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleague, you will remember in 1980, there was issues of problems of desert encroachment. And the federal government deemed it fit that there's need to rescue that region. And the principle of afforestation started, and trees were planted to quench the problem of desert encroachment in this country. There was no position raised on it. Now Southeast people are Nigerians, indigenous in nature. And when one of our own is being faced with problems, there is need to rescue that problem. The Northeast has a problem, and every Nigerian resolved to support Northeast. And continuously, we will continue to support Northeast until that issue is resolved. Mr. Speaker, Southeast is not different. I am not from Southeast, but I know the problem of Southeast. Every nook and corner of Southeast is ravaged with erosion. Can't you rescue such a situation? Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, you will see houses encroached by erosion, destroyed by erosion. Mr. Speaker, when you go to Southeast, you pity the deplorable road constructions are there. What we should be talking is passing this bill with the speed of light it requires, not to be opposing it. I am not talking issues of the Civil War. I am talking issues on how to rescue your fellow human being. And that's the complete issue.
Well done.
The issues of Civil War is gone. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues.
Honorable Osai. MS,
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Osai, please. MS is raising point of order, but please, just raise your point of order.
My point of order is simple. Mohammed Sani Abdu Al-Kaleri, Federal Constituency, I'm from Bauchi State. I want him to talk to the subject matter. All those issues of environment, this and that are different.
No, Honorable MS.
Yes.
You are ruled out of order. If you look at the title of that bill, MS, please.
I'm saying he should talk to the subject matter.
MS.
If he talks to the subject matter, I have no problem, sir.
MS, that's exactly what I want to rule on. Look at the title of that bill. There is the word environment there. There is the word environment there, so it's not out of order. So you are ruled out of order. So Honorable Osai, you continue. Okay, you are finished.
Look, in concluding, before there was an intervention, and I want to thank Mr. Speaker for your protection. In rising on this motion, on these issues, that is critical, because we are saying that the National Assembly is a unifying factor, a unifying institution that comes to unify Nigeria with better policies implementation. And this commission is one of those policies that unite us. This commission is one of those policies that carries a section along. This commission is one of those policies that is laudable in rescuing Nigeria. On this ground, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, I urge you, my colleagues, to look at what the intention of the Senate to pass this bill with the speed of light is required. I rest my case.
Honorable Ikere Asoto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Azodo Ikere, a member representing Abuja Federal Constituency. I'm from Anambra State, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I stand to wholeheartedly support this bill to be passed into law. Mr. Speaker, there are so many reasons why we needed this bill. We are talking of the 3R. Some people are saying that we should forget about war, that it has been long. the war took place. It's not true. We are still suffering on that. We are still suffering on that, on the menace of the war. So we needed this bill to reconstruct and rehabilitate the Southeast region. We were talking of reconciliation. Yes, we have agreed on reconciliation, that we have reconciled. And we are one indivisible country now, and united. So as we have reconciled, there is need for us to reconstruct and rehabilitate the zone so that we will move as one. Last time we passed a bill here on Northeast Development Commission. It was in the same spirit, to develop the area. We are pleading with my brothers. It's not on sentiment. If you people bring any other bill on North Central or any other side, we are going to support you on that. Please, we are pleading for you to support this bill so that it will be passed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for yielding to me. My name is Nenna Elendu KJ, member representing Bende Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm from Abia State. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Senate for the thought that went into passing this bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, the reason that I thank the Senate is that I have absolutely no doubt that the dissenting voices that we have on the floor of this House, the sentiments were mirrored in the Senate. But what the Senate did was that they came up with a bill that not only would look to the development of the country, to all the regions of the country, but also an instrumentality to unifying this our country at a time where our country is at its most polarized. Mr. Speaker, sir, my colleagues before me have spoken to the merits of the bill, and they've spoken to environmental degradation and so on and so forth. Only today, or a couple of days ago, Mr. President decried what was going on in the Lake Chad Basin, and he spoke about environmental degradation and even went beyond the Lake Chad Basin Commission to ask that countries around the world come and support the Lake Chad Basin because of the effects of climate change. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Southeast loses on a daily basis a lot of income to poor road network, which derives from the fact that we are indeed an infrastructural decay, which derives from the fact that we're a country that is on a very bad belt as far as ecological issues is concerned. But Mr. Speaker, over and above that, I've heard the arguments from some of my colleagues, and they say that should we have development commission?
Please, silence, honorable members, please. Order, please. Please, honorable members, take your seats. Silence, please. Please. Honorable Boma, can you resume your seat, please? Please. Honorable Abdul, DG 2019, please take your seat.
I've heard some of my colleagues oppose this. And the reason they oppose this is they say, should we have development in every part of the country? Mr. Speaker, so the GDP growth of our country is put at 1.9%. Ghana has the fastest GDP growth, and do you know why? Because Ghana came up with a policy that said, one village, one factory. It is the one village, one factory policy of Ghana that has jump-started the Ghanaian economy in such a way that we have seen the growth that we see. What is wrong, Mr. Speaker, sir, with us developing every region? Let me speak to the Northeast, and I do not speak to the Northeast because I think I want to come up with the argument of what is good for the goose is good for the gander. As a House, and I was one of the proponents of the Northeast Development Bill, we realized that for Nigeria as a country to wholly develop, that it was important for us as a country to make interventions in the Northeast, because if one zone develops and another one does not develop, it affects the bottom line for the rest of the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, only recently we've had conversations about interventions of
10 billion, I think it was, to the northwest because of security issues. And Mr. Speaker, all of us as a House stood up and spoke about that intervention. The reason we did it was through no fault of theirs in the north. My colleagues on the floor of this House came out and said that all the economic activities in the north had ground to a halt. Mr. Speaker, sir, my concern is that if we decide to fractionalize this country, and if this parliament, which is supposed to be the unity, the unifying force for Nigeria, decides that the Southeast does not deserve development, or that the Development Commission for the Southeast is not right, then, Mr. Speaker, sir, what argument can we have for the other interventions that we're going to make in all the other regions that have this problem? As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Speaker, sir, there's nothing in this bill, in this development of the Southeast, that takes away from the development of any of the other regions in Nigeria. All we're asking for is a legal instrument that helps us to drive our development in such a way that makes us one part of this country that helps the entire country to get up to what it is we want to see the country as economically. So when people start to come up with all these arguments about the north, the southeast not requiring the interventions, yes, let's even speak about restitution. Mr. Speaker, sir, over 2 million lives were lost in the Biafran War. I do not speak to that, but if restitution were to be the issue, then let us have that as restitution. But for me, Mr. Speaker, what I implore is that my dear colleagues look at this as one region that is part of 6 geopolitical zones that needs to be developed alongside all the other regions. And if all these other regions are good candidates for that intervention, then the South is no less. I rest my case.
Obira Chidoka.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Obina Chidoka, representing Idemili North, Idemili South Federal Constituency of Anambra State. My intervention this morning is quite simple, Mr. Speaker. As Chairman House Committee on Environment, I've had the privilege of going around this country. It will require $15 billion to recharge the Lake Chad. I've been to a place called Bama, most of them are from here, and some of them can't even go there today. If, for example, the issues we're having of climate change today, and the movement, the migration, climate change migration from the north, and they start moving to the east or to any other part of this country, that is when they realize the issues. We have created an agency called the Great Green Wall. The Great Green Wall works in 11 frontline states in the north to tackle desertification and desertification issues. The issues of climate change is real. And when you have nowhere to run, you find out that by the time you come to the southeast, there is nowhere to run because of erosion. In Anambra, for example, there are about 1,000 erosion sites. Not to talk of other states in the southeast. The whole of the southeast, of course, our landmass is not large enough. In Lagos, they're expanding to the ocean. They now have what they call Eco-Atlantic Ocean. In the north, the Eco-Atlantic City, pardon me. In the north, they have landmass. In the southeast, we're decreasing by the day. The Niger port is not developed. The trade route, Mr. Speaker, goes from Onitsha all the way from Kogi and down to Kano. And some of those trade is being lost by our brothers from the north because of lack of major infrastructure. What we are talking about is a development commission, which I think that we are progressive in this country to be able to look at constituent parts of this country that will develop equally and bring about the development of other parts of the country. There are northerners who live in the southeast. There are easterners who live in the north who have even moved. By climate change alone, that is a big issue for this country to grapple with. Insecurity is another one. And by the time we have this development commission who will look at the issues in the southeast, and what are the simple issues? What are the issues we have? Issues of commerce. When you think about commerce, our industry, the enterprise, to be able to look at the issues that we have, that we'll be able to develop, that will also make sure that those developments are taken away or taken to the other parts of the country. So I've been to the southwest, I've been to the southeast, been to the south-south. Issues of course, the ocean surge in the South-South is an issue. So these are areas where we have to look at when you talk about environmental issues on one part. And then, of course, those who have spoken about restitution, reparations, issues that have risen from, there are still roads that damaged in the Southeast from the Civil War. There are still live bombs. Recently in Germany, they detonated one from the Second World War. Not to talk of the Nigerian issue that just happened less than 40 years ago.
You're watching from the National Assembly, House of Representatives, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the largest TV network in Africa. At the moment, the lawmakers are debating a bill for an act to establish the Southeast Development Commission, which will serve as a catalyst to develop the commercial potentials of the Southeast. Before now, two bills have been passed. That is a bill for an act to eradicate the age discrimination against job seekers, as well as a bill to establish the Defense Intelligence Agency Pensions Board. But I'm afraid that's the much we can take on this edition of the program. We thank you for being with us. Stay tuned as we join our studios for continuation of our regular programming. I am Lami Ali.